Welcome to our special coverage of the Noor Salman trial here on clickorlando.com. I'm Julie Broughton. Today, prosecutors released graphic evidence from inside the Pulse nightclub the night of June 12, 2016. That video was shown to jurors in court yesterday, includes a timeline video of every step Omar Mateen took before, during, and after he murdered 49 people. We will not show video of the attack itself. News 6's Nadine Yanis watched the video in court today and is here to take us through what we can learn from it. Nadine.
Well, Julie, this video shows a timeline down to the second of what Mateen did inside of the Pulse nightclub. And it was just this week we learned he went inside the club to scope it out before he started shooting. This video will show that. It also gives insight into how law enforcement responded and saved lives that night. Now, the video begins with Omar Mateen seen walking into the Pulse nightclub. On the left side of the screen is an interactive map that shows where he is. He walks in at 1:41 a.m. You can see him pull out his wallet, pay a cover charge, and then gets his wristband to go inside. He walks through curtains and into the main bar area where, blurred, you can still see people dancing and having fun. This, as Mateen, highlighted in the top left of the corner, watches them. It's hard to see, but he also buys a drink. Then 11 minutes later, he's seen walking through the curtains again and leaves. About 4 minutes after that, at 1:58 in the morning, video shows he parks his rented van at the car detailing shop next door. At this point, Mateen is seen going back into the Pulse nightclub and starts shooting. This is video we've chosen not to show you, but let's take you to 3 hours later to what officers were doing outside when they decided to breach the nightclub. At 5:14 in the morning, you can see chopper video show the blast to break through the walls. And then within less than a minute, the gunfight. Flashes of gunfire continuing over and over again until Mateen was dead.
And Nadine, what are you hearing from survivors and family members of the victims about this video being released?
Mixed feelings, Julie. Yeah. I know that the victims who were inside, who survived the shooting, they've already been posting videos on Facebook warning people not to watch this. They don't want to see it. One survivor in particular, Tony Marrero, did a Facebook Live that has now been viewed 2,000 times, saying he doesn't want to see it. He's reminded every day from his scars about this video. But on the other hand, the people I talk to who we see are in court, families who've lost their sons, their brothers, they all tell me that's why they're at the trial. They want to know everything. So it seems like the people who weren't physically there, who maybe have lost loved ones in there, they want to know what happened inside, but not the survivors. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, certainly tough to see. Joining us now is News 6 legal analyst Mark O'Mara. Thank you for joining us. Sure. And, you know, this video, unedited, obviously, was shown in court yesterday. How necessary is it, do you think, for prosecution to show this?
Necessary is a difficult term for this case, because obviously the government has given a lot of leeway in how they present their case, and they're allowed to do pretty much what they want to within certain reason. And we are dealing with the fact that they have to prove up that this is a terrorist organization that Mateen pledged allegiance to, and then try and connect her. So in that sense, the idea of showing some of the terror that was happening is necessary. I do think it's a very delicate balance, because you want to get the jury to be aware of what was going on and the terror involved. But you also are not supposed to just play to human emotions and jurors' emotions. And nobody will ever forget having seen that video. So the question is, did the government go too far? My opinion so far is they did what they could do and get away with, sort of, to present it. And now they need to move on.
And you mentioned playing on emotion, and of course you've been in court. Did you notice any reaction from the jurors as this video was being played?
Well, Julie, the jurors were intensely watching it, and the judge has told, especially the spectators in the gallery, to protect like their facial expressions and don't react. The jurors were just watching intensely. I didn't see any reaction from them. The most reaction we got was from Noor Salman herself. I mean, while we were watching that video, it was silent in that courtroom, and the only thing I could hear was Salman reaching for tissues. It was like nonstop crying watching the video. But it's important to add too that when they showed pictures of Mateen, his body afterwards, after they killed him, she purposely turned her head away. There's a screen right in front of her, and she turned her way. And I know, Mark, we talked about this yesterday. Jurors are really watching everything she's doing.
Oh, absolutely. They're watching. She's on stage, no matter what it is, whether it's an inappropriate laugh or smile or emotions or whatever it might be, or even yawning or nodding, something like that, will be interpreted by the jury, and she needs to be very, very careful.
Yeah, and certainly I would imagine that her counsel would advise her that she's being watched at all times.
Absolutely. There was that one incident in jury selection where there may have been a fist bump or something. That you need to be very careful about that type of a mistake.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, you know, this is all very methodical. The prosecution has laid out kind of what happened, and now they move on to connecting the two of them. And you mentioned they spent some time on a marriage license yesterday.
Well, you know, it's interesting. If you look at it the way the government should be presenting their case, and, you know, they're presenting it their way.
Of course.
But, you know, you start with the emotions of it. You start connecting the jury to the terror and all that. Now you have to connect Mateen and Salman, right? You have to get that connection there. And that's, I think, what they're starting now. So even something as simple as a marriage license is not all that necessary, but it makes those connections. And they'll start doing the receipts and the trips and everything else. And then I would imagine the third stage is going to be then her statement, the lies within it, the cover-ups.
Yeah, and the statement, and now we're hearing from investigators. Anything standing out about what you've heard from the investigators so far to you, Nadia?
I thought what was interesting is this was, the defense tried to suppress these two testimonies that we heard from yesterday. They didn't want these investigators to speak, saying her Miranda rights weren't read, that this privilege shouldn't have even been introduced. But this is where Salman told one of the first officers, like, are they taking me to Disney? This was strange to him. Then the FBI investigator who spoke to her in the back of a police car, she had told them, you know, my husband is safe with guns. No one had told her that there was a shooting. She said, my husband loved everyone, even homosexuals. No one had told her that the shooting happened at the gay nightclub. But what I think is interesting in this case is that in the jury instructions it says to be found guilty of an aiding and abetting charge. It's not simply that she knew. She had to have helped him. I would imagine we're going to see that soon.
Right, and you mentioned the statement about her saying, my husband loved even homosexuals, and that comes back to something we've talked about with the investigators not recording, and they're saying, did she say gay? Did she say homosexuals? You know, this is a big issue in this case.
Well, here's the thing, you know, Cop School 101 is you learn to record everything or keep track of everything because you don't know what's relevant as the investigation may continue. But we do know that even at the initial stages, when they were first talking to her, they knew that there was a horrific shooting at a club in Orlando, maybe a gay club. So all that information was ready. They should have been documenting everything they could. So a difference between homosexual, gay, or whatever else she may have said could turn out to be significant if it's one of the elements of a shoddy or inaccurate police investigation. And
that certainly will be something that defense continues to touch on as they build their case, right? Or
Absolutely. That's going to be a main focus. And of course, the crescendo of that is going to be the statement that she gave to the FBI that was not videotaped or audio taped, and why that would not have happened.
Yeah. So what do you think we can expect when court resumes on Monday?
I think we're going to continue with the connection between her and him, Mateen and Salman, and then we'll sort of morph into now what it was that they were doing together that ended up allowing him to do what he did, whether that's go to the Pulse before, go buy stuff, even, you know, this enormous purchase of jewelry for her. Why would you do that now instead of, you know, over the past year? So they're going to start, you know, peppering the evidence with all of the connections between the two, and then start showing this all makes sense that she knew what was going on. And then the next stage is, and here's how she helped.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. You will be back in court on Monday. Of course, we'll be checking in with you. And News 6 will have reporters in the courtroom throughout the trial. For full coverage, head to clickorlando.com/Noor Salman trial. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Julie Broughton.